this is our kickoff officially, our 300th episode, and I want to get a couple of things out of the way first because we want this to be a celebration today, and have a lot of fun with our 300th episode. But I want to start the show a little bit somber, and that is, man, we lost Ray Liotta this week, man. I was a little shocked by this. I actually was older than I thought he was. He's 67. For some reason, I thought he was like not that much older than me because he seemed very young when I first saw him in Field of Dreams and Goodfellas, you know. So I guess he was a little bit older. He just kind of had that young looking face. And he's one of the good ones, though, man. I started watching Copland last night just as a reminder of just how good he was on screen. And do you guys have a favorite Ray Liotta role?
Well,
Tommy Vercetti from Vice City.
Tony Vercetti? Yeah.
Yeah. Tommy, yeah.
Or Tommy, yeah. And
man, I guess Goodfellas. I mean,
that's the easy pick, but yeah, it's no, it is a good one though.
I mean, I don't think it's better than Smoking Aces, and I just haven't seen a lot.
Well, and that's the thing about Ray Liotta. He's good, but he's also kind of the same guy in all his movies. But I guess that's okay, you know, to be a really good character actor.
There's this one. He had a comedy film with Jennifer Love Hewitt and Sigourney Weaver where they like scammed guys, and he was like one of the guys they scammed into like a divorce settlement. And he was actually, I thought he was kind of funny in that film. It was a different take than what he normally does. And I kind of liked him in that role.
I kind of remember that movie, but yeah, definitely one of the good ones. A lot of tributes pouring out to him, and he'll be missed, man. It was weird because we just did Smoking Aces a few weeks ago, and I was looking. I think that's the only movie we've done so far that he was in. I was looking back at our catalog, and I don't think we had done another one. It's amazing we haven't done Goodfellas yet.
Yeah.
We're actually really amazed we haven't covered that film. But I think we will in time. But this is the Rebel Radio Podcast. This is Mark.
This is Matt.
This is Long.
And we have with us in kind of an amazing feat. He's the OG co-host on the Rebel Radio Podcast going back to its internet radio days. And he was with us for the first pretty much 106 episodes of the new incarnation when it became a podcast. And Frank is back on the Rebel Radio Podcast for this momentous episode 300.
How does this work where I go, this is Frank?
Yeah, this is Frank.
This is Frank.
Yeah. As you know, we bust your balls on the show almost weekly. You listen to the show, you know how we tease you about going, I like it. Or this is Frank. So that was a perfect intro.
Well, last week I thought you said we were going to bust my balls a little bit on that episode, and you got a little sidetracked. And as it ended, I was like, my balls feel pretty good.
Oh,
like my balls are not busted at all.
Well, today we will have some fun with you here in just a moment. But man, welcome to the show, man. And I mean, this is
thanks, guys.
We're going to talk more about our 300 celebration later in the show, but this is a pretty big, man. A lot of podcasts don't make it this far, and 7 years later, we're still going and still having fun, and still a lot of movies to talk about that we haven't done yet. And you know, there's times where I think all three of us, and even when you were on the show, it becomes work a little bit, and like you got to get yourself up for it that night to record or whatever. But then you have moments like a big milestone or a really great movie, and it kind of gets you rejuvenated again. And I find myself lately, with the box office going again, there's movies to go see again. It looks like it's going to be a really great summer. I'm starting to get rejuvenated because I do love film a lot. And it was tough to get through 2020 and most of 2021 with not a whole lot of new stuff to see. But now things are starting to get back to some, a normal stance of things and enjoying some films that are coming out. And so I think that helps rejuvenate our love for what we do. And plus, I'm also stubborn as fuck, man. I don't know how to quit.
Well, I know you guys, and people don't understand like how much y'all go through in y'all's personal lives for the fact that y'all are still here every week, pretty much turning out an episode. I mean, that's some dedication from you guys to like put out something for people to listen to every week.
Definitely put out.
I'm definitely mad. It's me. My gosh.
I know, right?
Matt, why do you have to make it weird all the time?
Well, what do you mean, man?
Well, let's make it weird a little bit further. We're going to play. We normally start the show with download this, where we tell you what we watched or stream lately. We're going to do that in a minute. We're going to start the show with a catching up with Frank type game, and there's no rhyme or reason to these questions at all. I just sort of came up with them. So if they suck, you can totally blame me. So we're going to test a little bit.
Oh, we will.
We're going to test a little bit of your geekhood, a little bit of where you stand
brother.
amongst us here.
Well,
the first question I have is, have you kept up with the MCU?
For the most part, yeah. I mean, I'm not like a hardcore rewind every film, look for every Easter egg inside of each little frame of film.
Well, no.
But for the most part, the movies and stuff, yeah. TV shows.
We had to test your geek cred there.
Yeah.
The second question.
Wait, let me ask though.
Go ahead.
For you, Frank, during the MCU, what are your favorite highlights off the top of your head that you enjoyed, like movie wise or Disney Plus shows?
I like the oddball stuff like Loki and stuff like that. It's just the personality. I like the whole twist. If anybody's seen, hopefully he's watched it by now, where they did the whole.
That's the only Marvel show I haven't watched.
Well, spoiler alert, Mark.
I don't
anyway,
care.
Where Loki kind of makes a variant of himself. So now in the even though he got killed in the movies, they can still technically bring him back with everything that happened in Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. You figure, I was kind of hoping really geek out in Thor, the new Thor movie coming up. Like maybe at the end he just kind of like pops up and catches everybody off guard because they think he's dead, but it's him at the same time, but different in a little bit.
Yeah.
I
Did
think
you see Doctor Strange too?
Oh, of course.
Oh, did you like it?
Yeah. Some people just thought it was okay.
I liked it. I couldn't believe they actually
I've talked to a lot of people work that think it's okay.
fully turned Wanda evil there. So
Yeah, some people didn't like that. It was like, hello, where did you think this was going? Did you watch WandaVision?
mm-hmm.
Some people at my work like, why did they have to make her the bad guy? Because it was always set up for her to be the bad guy. But I think she'll have a comeback around because I don't think she died at the end.
She definitely put Hela to shame from Thor Ragnarok. That's for sure.
Well, yeah,
she acted her ass off for sure. She definitely felt like a slasher monster. Or
yeah, they definitely consider this like Marvel's horror film.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead, Mark. Sorry, I had to. I was curious.
Okay. The second question: left or right? Right.
Twix, the right. Bed, left. A couple other things, the right.
So you're hanging to the right,
and definitely hanging to the right.
This is a tough question. Okay, and are you upset that we kicked your ass off the show?
What do you mean kicked my ass off the show? You didn't even touch my ass with your little action figure kick that you do as I was running out the door.
So I take it you're not upset.
Nah. I mean, Long jumped in there, so I think he's been doing a pretty good
We know
job.
you're a closet fan of this show. Frank, tell the truth. You went and saw the new Downtown Abbey flick, didn't you?
No. But I did make it through half the first season of the
So
series.
you plan on seeing the Downtown
Hey,
Abbey
you know what? It's a good series.
Whatever.
Yeah, okay, whatever. It's actually a good series. Well acted.
It is.
What's your favorite podcast?
I guess since I don't listen to many, the Rebel Radio podcast.
Good answer. I would have kicked your ass off this episode. This is a tough one. Matt or Long?
Oh, shit.
Well, it depends on what we're talking about. If we're talking about Matt, we're definitely not talking about Long.
Good one.
Good save. Good save. We only have two more.
Dude, well, I feel guilty because Matt's like a little brother to me. I've known him the longest, so I have to say Matt, but no offense to Long. It's just,
Oh, now you offended Long. Now he's Asian. Come on, man.
Seniority. Yeah, seniority.
Seniority. That's the only reason why.
He works at Kroger.
I hung out with Matt more.
Is there any 2022 movie you're looking forward to? Besides stuff we've already been had out.
Not really, because I don't keep up with everything that's coming out.
You went to the movies though. You saw trailers. There's nothing you're looking forward to.
Actually, now I kind of like just go to the bathroom a lot through the trailer to make sure I don't have to get up as much during the movie.
Old.
It's because I'm old.
Hey.
Three.
Not a
Can
bad
I
technique.
bring up something? I'm almost a week away from being 48.
You're fucking old. Okay.
Well, 2 weeks. Technically 2 weeks.
If you had your
from being
choice
48.
between these two crazy bitches, would you choose Harley Quinn or Wanda Maximoff?
Who?
Harley Quinn or Wanda Maximoff? The Scarlet Witch. Which
Harley Quinn, because she can't freaking disintegrate me.
Yeah, but she might chop your dick off or something.
Yeah, but she ain't gonna disintegrate me.
And the last question, Frank, would you punch Bruce Lee?
No, why would you punch a dead person?
No, like living Bruce Lee.
Why would I want to get my ass kicked?
It was just a thought.
Because boards don't kick back.
Yeah, and I don't think I would get my ass kicked if I punched a dead Bruce Lee. Somebody would whip my ass.
So those were the random questions I came up with catching up with Frank. Did you guys have any random questions you want to ask Frank since we're catching up with him on the show? I know I'm putting you on the spot. I didn't tell you I was going to do that, but you know,
The look on Matt's face trying to ponder what to say
he's trying to fucking think really hard, isn't he? Like,
to see how inappropriate he can
I
make
really
it.
want to ask Frank if he shaved his balls, but I'm not going to do it.
Not today, Matt.
Oh, darn.
Oh, I got one, Frank. I heard that you hated The Last Jedi, but what did you think of Rise of Skywalker?
I hate them all. But
He's an equal
I already
opportunity.
told him he's not allowed to sequel
Yeah,
bash.
I'm not allowed to sequel bash, but
We're not doing that shit.
if 7, 8, and 9 kind of just disappeared from the Star Wars catalog, I would not cry.
Oh,
Because right now,
Why you got to serve that bag long?
right now, everything that they're putting on Disney Plus is like 100 times better. I mean,
I always go out of my way.
whether you like any of them or not, Mark, they're 100 times better than those movies.
I gotta tell you though, every time people are always like on the YouTube channel or whatever, people are always singing praises of Mandalorian and all these really cool stuff that are coming out. I always have to go out of my way to say thank you, Kathleen Kennedy, for signing these checks for these people, just to troll them and make them remember. It's like, yep, Kathleen Kennedy's still running the whole thing.
No, I mean, I don't blame that on any one particular person,
Yeah.
But I did, at least I was okay with the ending of it all.
Yeah.
And some people weren't, but I was. So,
I have to say though, the Mandalorian TV show made me actually care about the Mandalores. So, yeah.
Yeah, it was more than, now they become more than just a cool outfit on Star Wars. You know what I mean? Like we were all just digging the way the Mandalorians look, but now we actually like their background and the lore of them all.
This is the way.
Yep.
Well, it's good to catch up with Frank, I guess.
Well, you're more caught up on me than they are.
All right. Well, then let's get into Download This, where we tell people what we watched, streamed, checked out this week. Obviously, it's going to be pretty Obi-Wan centric here in a few moments. But anything else new that you watched lately, Frank? You're the guest, so you get to go first. Watched or played, or
I don't know. Does going to the movies count?
Yeah. Well, yeah, you watched something, but just
I went and saw, of course, Top Gun Maverick.
No spoilers, though. I see it.
I'll put it like this: when it kicked off, you're like, "Oh hell yes," and that's all I'm going to say. Or at least as a fan of Top Gun, that's how I felt when it started. Got the adrenaline pumping.
Yeah, I see it here in about 12 hours. So,
TV wise, not much. I just put it on like an old TV show that I've already watched, so I can listen to it as I'm putting my Gundams together. Otherwise, I don't watch.
With all the Obi-Wan stuff today, I completely forgot that Stranger Things hit today too. I'll have to watch some of it.
Oh, did it?
Did it hit?
Yeah, season 4 came out.
No,
today.
dang, I was still thinking about another month. Man, it was taking forever.
Yeah.
When they raised the prices last month, I just like, screw you.
I've been thinking
Screw you,
about
Netflix.
trying to make it through season 4 of Stranger Things. I've been thinking about canceling too, just because I don't really watch it. And I do want to see the new Russo brothers movie, but I think it comes out in July, right when the second half of Stranger Things comes out. So,
Yeah, I was thinking about that too, dropping it after watching Stranger
and
Things.
then I'll pick it back up when Stranger Things season 5 comes out next year.
if it comes out next year.
Oh no, I read they are expected to start production this fall, and it won't be as long of a wait for season 5. That should be out in 2023. So,
now speaking about that, I just remember when it first came out, my cousin's like, I went over to his house for the weekend, out of town, and he was all like, "You got to watch this show called Stranger Things." And I'm like, okay, I'll get it. I'll watch it when I go home. But I'm like one of those people, I don't sleep well at other people's house. So I woke up at like 4:00 in the morning, and I was like, screw it, I'll check out the Stranger Things. And then I just watched it for like 4 hours. We really need that
whole backstory about you not sleeping everywhere. No, all we need to know is you watched it at your cousin's house.
Yeah,
which is kind of weird. But whatever.
Well, anytime when we used to go out of town to concerts, I was like, just lay there like, I can't sleep.
Oh,
dang, Mark.
What?
Picking on poor Frank all
That's the whole reason I had him on the show.
Help me go to sleep. I'm just like, Jay, dude, you're here, I'm here.
So you didn't watch anything other than Top Gun Maverick in the whole 200 episodes since we've seen
Obi-Wan. I thought you meant like recently, like in the last week.
Last month.
I mean, like it's been how long? We've done a show. Do I need to list everything I've watched since the last show?
Anything else interesting that you saw? Did you like the Batman?
Yes. Way better than I thought I would. And I was like, don't need another Batman. Then I got there. I was like, holy shit, I like this Batman.
Right. It's probably the best Batman movie ever made. It's pretty damn brilliant. I watched it like 5 times now.
Mark, you think every Batman movie is the best Batman movie made
Batman
until
and
the next Batman?
Batman and Robin is shit on paper.
But it was the best Batman movie until it became the shit on paper because something else was
Batman
better.
and Robin sucked when I saw it.
It was bad. we made fun of it quite a bit.
But
it needed more Arnold one-liners. That would have saved it.
That's all Arnold's career is a one-liner that works very well.
I didn't really watch much else this week either. I was going to rent Uncharted last weekend just to check it out, even though I know it's not supposed to be great, but my children did not want to behave, so that never happened. I never rented it and watched it. Maybe tomorrow night, because I am curious to see it. I'll pay the $5 to watch. I don't care. But that's really, I feel like I watched something on Paramount Plus for some reason, because I had it on the other day, but maybe I didn't. Other than Obi-Wan. But did you guys watch anything else before we get into Obi-Wan?
No.
Yep.
So they didn't watch anything.
Watched a couple. I hadn't seen The Last Night. We watched. We did Transformers a few weeks ago.
Well, that's 3 hours you won't get back.
Yeah. I like the part about dueling swords with Transformers, but it wasn't the best Transformers.
Yeah, like Age of Extinction isn't great, but I can still watch it. I think the Dinobots are kind of cool. But then you watch Last Night, and it almost made Age of Extinction look like really great. And it's not even that good. It's like,
this is true.
Yeah, the Last Night was hard to watch.
Yeah, it was
incomprehensible.
Yeah. Yeah, if I remember correctly, there was one part where some of the Transformers are in space, and then all of a sudden they're back on Earth, and it just happens. You're like, wait, what? It's really bizarre.
Bad editing.
Yeah, it's just like, that was just not good.
And I'd never seen Bumblebee.
Really?
You've never seen Bumblebee? That's probably one of the best ones that they put out.
Yeah, I really liked it. I thought it was really good.
Yeah. And
I was hoping that would breathe new life into the franchise. I know they got more coming out, but I was hoping it'd be a little bit closer.
It's good, and Katie Steinfeld she's going to be a star. I mean, she's just so good. I mean, she was great in Hawkeye. She's great in that. She's great in True Grit. I mean, I truly think that she's going to be the next in the future. We're going to see her in a lot of stuff. I think she's just really good.
Yeah. And lastly, I saw this little clip of this video of Charlie Cox sword fighting Mark Strong in some fantasy movie, and I was like, I looked it up, and it was Stardust, 2007. Never heard of the film.
Really?
Yeah, never heard of it. And
my old ass saw that in the theater.
And I was like, friggin', Superman's in the film. Henry Cavill. And I was like, yeah, this is cool. You've got friggin' Daredevil and Superman in a film together.
It's a good movie.
I liked it.
Very good movie.
Directed by Matthew Vaughn.
And that friggin' De Niro is a cross-dresser. He's great. Good acting from De Niro in it. And I enjoyed it. I thought it was really cool. I thought it was kind of a little anticlimactic at the end. If you haven't seen it by now, Michelle Pfeiffer is just like, well, I just have nothing to live for, so I'm going to kind of let you go, but I'm going to make all these explosions happen behind you as you run away from my castle.
First time I saw that movie, because I've only seen it twice, but the first time I watched it, I'll be honest, I was I had started dating my now ex-wife, and I think I sat through it just hoping to score that night. But I overall enjoyed the film. It was a good movie.
Yeah. Mark Strong, good character actor.
It didn't even occur to me that until you texted the other day about it, saying I didn't even realize back then that was Charlie Cox. I just thought it was I had no clue, and he'll, because I don't really know who he was till I saw Daredevil years later.
Yeah.
And,
I have a question for Matt.
Yeah.
Have you ever just sat through a movie just hoping to score?
Yes.
And what movie was it?
Dragonfly.
every single one of us has done that. So
Long, how about you?
Kevin Costner. Dragonfly.
I can't recall. It's been so long for me.
but there ain't a guy on this planet Earth that hasn't done that. So
Oh yeah.
12 years. I can't remember, honestly.
Mine was the Truman Show at the theater.
The Truman
We were
Show.
fooling around
that
so
wouldn't
much.
have been a hard one to watch though, because that was a good movie.
Well, no, I didn't even get to watch the movie. We were fooling around so much. The next thing we know, the movie's over with. I had
Actually, now that I remember now.
Traded, jeez.
I remember now.
Time to like it.
They said
I
fooling around. It could have meant like they're like throwing popcorn.
You know what Frank meant when he says full.
Yeah.
What was it, Long?
I think I remember now. It was an unintended effect. So me and my ex-girlfriend at that time, we watched 300 when it first came out in theaters. And that movie got her hot and bothered with all the hot men and stuff. So I benefited from it. So
There you go.
Did you kick her on the bed and go on this part?
well, we were coming from the theater, so
yeah. Right after the theater is always the fun.
Right.
Parking lot business there.
Is awesome.
Thank you, 300.
Yeah.
At this point in life, I don't care if she's fantasizing about me or somebody else.
Or Leonidas in that case. Like, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'll be your Leonidas.
she's way ahead of you. How do you say her last name? Heaney. So hey, it's all good. All right. Well, Obi-Wan Kenobi officially. We are recording on Friday night.
Stranger Things. I did see Stranger Things. It's awesome. See the first episode.
I was going to say, I know you didn't watch. I didn't think you watched all 8 episodes already.
No.
The first half. Is it 8 episodes out today? The first half.
Yeah,
I can't remember. Yeah, I think it's 8, and it's 16 episodes total. So, yeah.
It is scary. Like horror movie ish, like 80s horror movie ish kind of.
Yeah.
Like it always is. But let's talk
just,
Kenobi, man.
I will say one thing about Stranger Things. I'm
yeah.
looking forward to watching it, but I feel like I hope that the Duffer Brothers, because I started feeling in season 3 that the Duffer Brothers, because it was one of those shows, just like the Matrix sequels and things like that, that it was planned as a one-off. It was planned as an 8-episode series. That was it. Then they had to create all this stuff to expand the world. And I thought season 2 was fine, but I thought season 3 was stretching a bit. And we talked about this on the show. We all kind of agreed that season 3 felt like it was stretching a little bit. And I hope that doing all these longer episodes and longer episode count, that season 4 doesn't do that. Hopefully they took their time and did some really good writing to make it not feel stretched out. So
Yeah.
because season 3 felt like it could have been about 3 episodes shorter and told the same story. So that's just my thoughts. So yeah, Obi-Wan Kenobi, man, it is May 27th, 2022. We are recording on Friday night. Obi-Wan hit last night at about 9 p.m. Pacific time. They released it early. The whole world was pretty excited about this, especially Star Wars fans, as Ewan McGregor returned to the role that he did so well in the prequels. I mean, love or hate the prequels, he's definitely one of the highlights of it. And so this show takes place 10 years after, and we're going to go into spoiler territory, as people know right here, because it's on Disney Plus. By the time you hear this on Monday, you've had a couple days to watch it. So that's more, I think 48 hours is plenty of time, especially a weekend. It takes place 10 years after Revenge of the Sith, and it deals with Obi-Wan being basically a nomad, hiding out and keeping an eye on the young Luke Skywalker. And meanwhile, Bail Organa, and this was a nice surprise in the show. I mean, they didn't show this in trailers or anything. Taking care of a young Leia, and we got to see a young Leia, and boy, it was. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna throw my manhood out there on this. When I saw her walking and doing the Carrie Fisher walk, I welled up a little bit. I was like, that's brilliant. I mean, whoever did the casting for this little girl, the way she walked just like Carrie Fisher, I was like, wow, this. I got those Star Wars chills. That what's so great about this franchise and what it does to you. So we got 2 episodes today for the premiere. It's a 6-episode miniseries, and my initial reactions to it are I like it quite a bit. I love the idea of a weary, just war-ridden Obi-Wan dealing with his past and handling his own way, and just making sure Luke is taken care of. And I liked every aspect of it. I love the feel of it. It felt like it was pulled right from a mixture of the original trilogy and the prequels. If I had one beef with it, it's the character that played Reva. I just thought she was really bad. She was almost like me and Matt texted me. It's almost like Diary of a Mad Black Sith or something. She's just, I didn't like her at all. I just felt her acting was just really just not well. And hopefully it serves the story as it goes along. But that's probably my only beef with it. There's a lot of great Easter eggs in this, a lot of stuff to talk about. But that's my initial reaction. We'll get a little deeper into it here in a minute.
Yeah, she's definitely missing something. I mean, can you imagine someone like maybe Alfre Woodard being in that role, a young Alfre Woodard, or who else is the lady who played Amanda Waller from Suicide Squad?
Yeah.
She gets intense, man.
Yeah. That's what her intensity felt fake. It just I couldn't buy into her.
Yeah. I think somewhat it was maybe certain lack of facial expression. It was just kind of like
the way she delivered her lines just felt like she was reading.
Mono anger.
Yeah.
Wooden acting.
And it was taking me out of the show for a minute because there's so much good going on in the show around it that when she was on screen, I was just like, I don't know.
I think part of that's up to like the director. I mean, if she's not playing a role a particular way, you could always ask the actor to change the way they come at the character.
Well, sure, but I mean,
so it could be the way they wanted.
But at this point, though, the show's already there, so it's what we got. But
I'm just saying it could be the way they wanted her to play the character. But
yeah, but it's not a big detriment to the show, really.
Yeah,
I mean, it wasn't as weird as seeing Flea play a bounty hunter. That was weird.
I knew Flea was in it. Somebody spoiled that.
I was just like, this is weird. Why is Flea in Star Wars? I kept just going I was shaking my head this is odd.
Well, I heard that he was in it. Just like they were but they just didn't know what role he was playing, but that he was.
I mean, it's cool, but it's weird.
But he played.
What do you mean?
It was cool.
Yeah. The first thought that came to my mind is, hey, it's Needles from Back to the Future.
Right?
Go on, McFly. No. I do like that Indian actor's name.
The guy from the Eternals. Yeah, I know you're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I like him in his role as a con artist.
Yeah.
With his magnetic force powers.
I have a feeling we'll probably see more of him somewhere in it.
And he puts his finger to his head. I am changing your mind.
He got shot. Yeah.
But man, Obi-Wan is definitely he's a very much in a very defeated mind state at that point, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, you figured at this point, he still thought, he killed his best friend, his brother, so, and then everything that happened with the other Jedi, and he just felt like he, pretty much his sole purpose was just to make sure the boy was okay. Past that, he just didn't really care about much of anything else that was going on. Well, he had to hide his powers.
And this is the dark times. Even though the Clone Wars are over, this is still the times where the Empire is ruling the galaxy. So, he has to be really careful and very watch what he does. As we can see, the Inquisitors are starting to hunt down the remaining Jedi that are still out there. And I found it really interesting to see, when this takes place, how the myth of the Jedi are people react to him and they're looking for him. I thought that was all really cool. I love little stuff like that continues to add to the Star Wars lore. What happened to the rest of the Jedi in this timeline and the people's beliefs about them and think that if they're real or not. I think that was really cool. I like the Inquisitors for the most part. I thought it was kind of cool. I don't know why people are wondering. A little spoiler here: the Grand Inquisitor gets killed in the second episode, and that was a bit of a shock. People are like, "Oh, there's retconning Rebels." Maybe the Rebel. To me, the Rebels Inquisitor is different. I don't know why people think they're retconning Rebels. I think that's a separate. Rebels is a whole nother 5 or 6 years after this show. Because the Rebels is about 5 years before New Hope. So to me, that's a whole different Inquisitor. Because it would make sense that maybe Vader appoints a new Inquisitor after this one's dead, right?
Yeah, or maybe they put an implant.
I don't know why people are writing articles
in other Like in Boba Fett, maybe they replace his internals and he's back to life.
Yeah, so I don't know why people are considering they retconned it. I think it's just two different characters,
Yeah.
Matt, man, what some of your thoughts, man?
No, I kind of like the Wanderer, look for Obi-Wan, trying to hide, and it kind of reminds me of the new the recent Star Wars game. I can't think of the name right now, where he's Cal.
Fallen Order.
Yeah, Fallen Order, where they're lining people up and they're interrogating them, and they're basically trying to make the Jedi react and show their powers, and trying to get them to basically do good and expose themselves. And it's pretty intimidating. I feel like they did a good job, all things considered. That you really get a feel for that brutalness of just going in Gestapo style, and just, you want to die? Tell me what you know. It's like, I'll cut off your hand. It's like, what the fuck, But yeah, I enjoyed it. I can't wait. I guess we're going to see Luke with the next couple episodes. I mean, we got to.
How about the rope-a-dope? They sold us, man. They put these trailers out, make it look like it's about Luke and Uncle Owen and all that. And then the whole 2 episodes are about Princess Leia.
I know.
And I thought that was great. Because it was definitely a surprise. It made it feel refreshing as she gets captured by Flea and his bounty hunters, and to draw Obi-Wan out by the Inquisitors. And by all intents and purposes, it works. As the 2 episodes in, where Obi-Wan is trying to escape the Inquisitors with Leia, and the big reveal happens at the end of that episode, which we'll talk about in just a minute. But that was a nice surprise. And what did you guys think about the young Leia? I thought she was fantastic. I mean, definitely a highlight of the show.
Yeah, she was all right.
Very mature. And when she tells off her cousin,
yeah, that was hilarious.
You can't even think for yourself, you fuckwad.
Yeah, it's always good. It's always good to see Jimmy Smith.
Oh yeah.
Well, the thing is, even though the Inquisitors are bad guys, they still have like their certain rules and guidelines that they, have to follow. And even though, like, the Inquisitors themselves didn't kidnap her, the one Inquisitor that Mark doesn't like had her kidnapped, and the Grand Inquisitor, he didn't care too much for it because he's like, hey, we don't go around doing this kind of stuff.
Yeah, they have
even though we're trying to get to the Jedi, and we want Obi-Wan, but we don't go about it this way, And I think she has. I think probably with Vader, probably brainwashed her a little bit, telling her that like Obi-Wan and other Jedis like him abandoned her as a Padawan, and that it's their fault that things are the way they are now. And so now she just has it's personal with her versus a job for the others. You can tell there's a lot of personal anger there. Yeah. Probably fed a lot in by Vader brainwashing her into hating him even more.
What do you think about the clone trooper sitting on the side?
Yeah. And that was Tamara Morrison too. He filmed it. And,
I looked real close. I was like, holy shit, it's him.
It just reminds you of the remnants of the war and everything that happened. You could see in Obi-Wan's face that, he felt terrible. And that's, that wasn't Coruscant. They never said what planet it was, but
they did.
Yeah, they may have said it. It just looked like a criminal planet.
Yeah, it's probably another outer rim, close to the rim type place.
But I thought that was a cool Easter egg. I love the moment where Obi-Wan tells Leia that she reminded him of someone, and he says, well, she was a leader, obviously talking about her mother. I thought that was a fantastic Easter egg. There's a lot to really like about this that I can forgive the acting of Reva. Because I just, it feels like stepping into an old friend, seeing Ewan back on the screen, playing the character he was made to play. And with all respect to Alec Guinness, he does a great job carrying on that legacy. And I think that's why, like Mandalorian is good, but it takes you a little bit to kind of like really get into Mandalorian. Where this felt like more getting right back to old friends and watching the Star Wars that we grew up with. And how about that ending? Man, that's I was kind of pissed. I'm like, damn, where's episode 3? You know, because I was like,
Patience.
It was a major spoiler here, but I mean, people know Hayden Christensen in the show as Darth Vader, and the sixth sister, was she the sixth sister? Reva, she reveals to Obi-Wan that Anakin's still alive and still in the form of Darth Vader, because Obi-Wan didn't know when he left Mustafar. He thought that he had killed his friend. He had no idea. And then there seems to be some sort of force connection there, or they alluded to that anyways, that Obi-Wan, his presence was felt by Darth Vader at that moment, as we see Darth inside a Bacta tank and healing himself.
Well, yeah, because Obi-Wan's kind of like when they reached out to Luke in the movies. I feel like with the Force, he reached out to Anakin because they had a strong bond. So he probably used the Force and reached out, and he never tried it before because he thought he was dead.
Well, that and Obi-Wan has also kind of cut himself off to the Force as we see that. It was interesting seeing him kind of get his ass kicked a little bit too. You know, he hasn't fought in a long time, and he's not. You know, he's cut himself off from the Force. And
10 years out of
had
shape.
to use more trickery to get away from people. But I find that all makes the character more interesting.
That he just didn't pick up 10 years later from where he left off, because that when
he punches someone that hurts his fist.
Yeah, that was funny. He's like,
Yeah.
That old wound from
it felt almost kind of like a Han Solo moment. Sorry, Matt.
No, like maybe his hands got a old wound from whenever he punched Grievous, and I was like,
Yeah. Did y'all notice? I noticed this, that Joel Edgerton, who plays Lars, made his voice a little bit gruffer to sound like I can't think of the actor's name who played Lars in the original movies. I noticed that he kind of made his, because Joel Edgerton normally doesn't sound like that. I think he did that on purpose, wanted to match the tone a little bit more. I thought that was cool, a little Easter egg. What else?
I liked when Luke jumped up on the rooftop and was pretending like he was driving a speeder.
Yeah.
And then Obi-Wan kind of gives it the look of like, should I be concerned? Or it was kind of like, oh, he reminds me of his dad, but at the same time, should I be concerned that he reminds me of his dad?
No.
So.
But I'm definitely excited to see where this show goes, man. It's, I never thought that back in 2005, that almost 20 years later, we would be seeing Ewan McGregor back as Obi-Wan Kenobi. I think that's the coolest part about it. And Jimmy Smits back as Bail Organa. And seeing Alderaan on screen, man. We only saw Alderaan in pieces.
Get blown up.
And it's kind of cool to see a living, breathing a planet where Leia grows up on. And
I think they're really going to try to sell us how beautiful this planet was and how magnificent it was. And then we all know it gets blown up.
But the biggest surprise to me of the show wasn't necessarily the Darth Vader scene at the end, because we knew Vader was in it. It was really Leia. We didn't know that from the trailer. So that was
never showed her.
Really, really pleasant surprise. And with a great young actress. And you could tell her and Ewan had a good chemistry going, messing with each other. So you know.
Did any of y'all notice the box when he got the lightsaber from the desert?
It's the one he opens to give to Luke in New Hope.
Yeah, but is it maybe also the same box from Force Awakens? I think it was. Was it Force Awakens when she finds I think Anakin's lightsaber or something in it?
Hey, I saw Rey's lightsaber.
Yeah, there you go.
Future Rey. Mm-hmm. That I'm sure that lightsaber's seen some shit, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, good stuff, man. On Disney Plus, Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's about all I can say about the first 2 episodes. Yes, I forgot about something. But this is our 300th episode, and as we continue with tradition, we did Star Wars with episode 100 and Empire Strikes Back with episode 200. So, of course, here in just a few minutes, we're going to be talking Return of the Jedi. But I may have asked this question before, but sometimes we get new listeners and things like that. And so before we get into Return of the Jedi, I ask each of you, like, Star Wars is obviously very important to us and the pop culture, subculture that we've grown up enjoying and been a very important part of who we are as far as things we're into. And so what does Star Wars mean for each of you? In a few words. I'm just curious.
I'll go first.
Yeah.
For me, it was just being transported to a uh, different universe, basically, and just not. It's just a great way of it's escapism for me, and it's just a fun world to watch. Uh, and as a kid growing up, it was just I was constantly amazed on some of the sights and sounds of the movie. Uh, and as a kid growing up in elementary, and Return of the Jedi was my favorite for a long time. And then as I grew older, I became more of an Empire fan. So I also loved the first Star Wars movie as well, more so than the Empire. But it's kind of weird. I think I mentioned this in past episodes that I first started watching Star Wars, and the first one I watched was Empire Strikes Back, and then the original Star Wars film. After that, and then Return of the Jedi finally. But that's Star Wars to me. It's just a fun universe to watch.
It's definitely
For
fun.
me, it was.
You go for it.
For me, it was. To me, it was like the definition of sci-fi. It's what all other sci-fi movies at that point to me had to compare to. And that's just how I felt about it. It was like you have to have the special effects, you have to have the storyline. I mean, I liked other sci-fi movies, but just for me as a kid, and it was also sitting around and watching it with my family. My uncle, he was a sci-fi person. My parents also enjoyed it. So anytime it came on, we just, would watch it. It was on regular TV. We didn't think of anything else. We just pop in Star Wars. Me and my cousin constantly watched it all the time. I'm sure the ones that have kids here, your kids pick a certain movie or something and they just put it on auto replay and it just over and over again, looping it. And that's how Star Wars was for me growing up. It was either was on the background, foreground, it didn't matter. But my favorite is the one we're talking about today.
Hey, I forgot we were going to take a bet on how many times Frank said
But yes, the Return of the Jedi is my favorite one. I'm not going to get in debate on which one's the best one. I'm talking about my favorite one is this one. It's just everything that was going on in it is what made me enjoy it. The land,
because you like
space,
Jabba's
and the space station
with a chain around Princess Leia going.
Actually, the first one of the
we'll get into the feature film in a minute. Oh, Matt, what does Star Wars mean to you, man?
Man, my uncle introduced me to it. It's, my uncle is kind of like a big brother to me, growing up. So it's, it definitely brings back the nostalgia of being a kid and seeing something, just, so wonder and awe, I guess, it kind of to what Long and Frank are saying, it's an escapism. It's sci-fi at its best. It's the epitome of sci-fi, and it just brings you back,
Yeah. I mean, y'all touched on a lot of things. For me, when I was a kid and I watched it and it comes on the screen, it says a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Well, I'm about 5 years old. I believed that. I thought that this was taking place somewhere else, and that's what Star Wars does. It opens up this world of possibilities that you can believe that maybe this world exists elsewhere. And that's what George did with his influences from the old John Carter novels and Flash Gordon and stuff to create a world that could exist somewhere else. Because if you go read a lot of those old pulp novels and stuff, they were written like those worlds created in another world, if they just did. Nowadays you get a lot of science fiction that sometimes tries to over-explain things. But Star Wars didn't do that. It existed what it was, and you believed in it and you enjoyed it. And definitely it's generational from families to families. I mean, a whole new generation now is discovering Star Wars because of Disney Plus and the new films and the new television series. And And I think that's what we forget. Like the prequels are starting to get very much more appreciated now because the kids that watch those are growing up and they're enjoying them. And people can say what they want about the sequels, but I think it's the same thing. I think there's kids today that watch the sequels, and 20 years from now, they're going to appreciate them just like the prequels were. Because I even look at the prequels in a different light than I used to. And I think that's so great about Star Wars is it simply stands the test of time. And it's okay to not like all of it, but it brings us together. It brings friends together. I imagine a lot of us, the four of us might not know each other as much as each other if it wasn't for Star Wars. And I think that's the great thing about it.
We're doing this podcast because of Star Wars.
Yeah, and it's amazing because when we knew the 300th episode was coming up in late May, early June, and it was just coincidence. It's the same week that Obi-Wan came out. Star Wars Celebration is going on right now in Anaheim. So it just happened to be perfect timing to hit our 300th episode to do Return of the Jedi. And that's pretty cool. So let's get into the 300th episode's featured film, which is Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. Yeah, I said the whole fucking title there.
Nerd.
This movie needs no introduction. But to basically summarize it, the Empire has created a new Death Star, and they plan on using it to wreak havoc. And Luke Han is still captured by Boba Fett, and he's in Jabba's palace, and so they hatch a plan to rescue Han and to go after this new Death Star. All meanwhile, Luke is trying to finish his training and face his destiny that Darth Vader is his father, and he realizes that he must face them. And it all comes together nicely in an epic showdown that takes place on Endor and the Death Star and in space. And at the time was the greatest space battle ever put on film until the record got beat. The record's been beat a couple of times since then, but back in 1983, this was the most ships ever on screen at one time. And that is Return of the Jedi in a nutshell.
And that's the end of the show, people. Thank you.
But like you guys, when I was a kid, this was my favorite Star Wars movie. I remember seeing the green lightsaber, walk out of the theater going, that was the coolest thing I've ever seen. I didn't know lightsabers could be green. At that point, they were only blue and red. And I wanted a green lightsaber so bad. And it was just cool seeing Luke in all black. I was like, oh, it's awesome. He's like a Jedi master. He's all black and green lightsaber. And he kicked Darth Vader's ass. And he's like, I'm a Jedi now, like my father before me. And there was just so much when you walk out of the theater as a kid to enjoy about this movie. And you're just like, that was awesome. And as I get older, I think I appreciate Empire more because I understand the depth of Empire Strikes Back and how good it is. But Jedi is just such a fun space adventure movie. It's got the fucking speeder bike. Which of us... All four of us, you got on your bike as a kid and you thought you were on a speeder bike.
Well, yeah.
I mean, come on, because of this movie. And that's the great thing about Return of the Jedi is just like, it's the movie I probably remember the most because I was about 8 years old or so when it came out. So I remember it more than the other Star Wars movies as a child. I remember at the theater I saw it in. It used to be up there at Gessner and Westheimer. There used to be an old Woodlake 3 theater or something. I don't know why I remember that, but I remember my dad taking me over there to see it there. And that's my initial reactions and memories of Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, for me, I saw all of them in the theater, but the first two, I was like really young. That's the one I actually remember the most in the theater, and I think it's because when I saw it on the big screen, and you had the battle on Endor, that took mostly outdoor battle, even though the name of the planet. But then it's
Endor.
It's called Endor, but all the battle took place outdoor. I know it's spelled different.
You're trying to pull a Matt joke here, man.
I know, it was bad.
Leave bad jokes to Matt.
But then it also had the space battle, which we loved from the first one, And then we got the biggest lightsaber battle on screen, And look how long it took before the prequels came out before we got more big lightsaber battles. So that's why this one over time just became my favorite one. It's just all the action going on.
It probably does. Now I think about it, probably does have the most action of the original trilogy.
And it has now one of my favorite scenes. It took me as an adult to appreciate the scene, but you have Willow poking Princess Leia. Yeah, granted, he's wicked at the time, poking her with a stick, but in my adult mind, it's Willow poking Princess Leia. The look on Mark's face right now, like, really, Frank?
Why? Was this a good idea, guys?
Hey, apparently, this was Long's idea, according to Long.
Yeah, I'll take credit for it.
You guys, what was y'all's favorite part? I guess.
What y'all's
The space battle. Anything with the Millennium Falcon was my jam.
Baddest ship.
Yeah. And the lightsaber scene and the resolution for Vader and his family issues.
Yeah.
Matt, what's your earliest memories of Return of the Jedi?
Man, my uncle took me to go see the special editions, and that was my first experience. He took me to go see all three of them right here up the street at the Tinseltown that we usually go to. And I remember, he still had the 68 Mustang, and he drove me and my cousin up there to go see this movie, and man, I was hooked ever since. He just walks up there to Jabba's palace, just cool and collected, and Jabba thinks Luke's his prisoner, but Luke's like, "No, you're really mine."
It blows my mind to think that
you
just saw Return of the Jedi in 1997.
Yeah, yep. Right.
Yep, 97, baby. 11 years old.
Yeah.
I first saw this movie, funny enough, it was like, man, it was like a 5-year teaser or something, because I first saw Return of the Jedi, and it traumatized me as a kid, because I was 5 years old, and the first thing I saw was freaking the Emperor frying Luke to death. And that scared the sweet Jesus out of me. It was a scary scene. So I was crying to my dad, "Oh, take me out of here! I don't want to see this." Right?
I can understand.
And then, so 2 years later, in second or third grade, I was looking through those, elementary picture books, and they had the movie Return of the Jedi, and I was flipping through the pages, like, wait a minute. That scary scene was from this movie? And then, of course, as a kid, I always wanted the Millennium Falcon toy, the big play set. And that just hyped my excitement even more. And I finally saw it at 5 years later, 10 years old, on VHS, finally. And I really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
More so than Empire. I was a stupid kid back then.
Hey, Long, quick question.
Yeah.
Would you rather have the playset Millennium Falcon or the Lego Millennium Falcon?
The playset for sure.
Because you don't have to build it.
You can't play with them. Probably Legos.
Right. Yeah.
Play with them once you build them.
Yeah, but it's the fun of building them.
Too much fucking work.
I mean,
I always knew that I always lose stuff as a kid. So yeah.
But Return of the Jedi is I think it doesn't always get enough credit for being as good, as much of an action adventure movie as it is, because it's a fast paced Star Wars movie. It's good. I watched it this week. I realized, like, we have more modern lightsaber fights now, like Maul versus Kenobi and Qui-Gon, and Yoda versus Dooku and Anakin, and then Rey and Kylo with the epic fight on the side of the blown up Death Star, which I thought was great. But this lightsaber fight to me still might be my favorite, just because the emotion of it. This is father versus son. The John Williams score is incredible during that scene as Luke and Vader are going at it, and just Luke fulfilling his destiny. I think that's my favorite scene in the movie. It's just that moment where Luke, he won't kill his father, but he'll defeat him because he realizes he does, because he's a good guy. He doesn't want to kill him. Of course, the Emperor tries to force his hand by shooting lightning at him, and you get the great Ian McDiarmid playing the Emperor, and he hams up every second he's on screen in this movie, and he's fantastic.
Oh yeah.
And that's just that whole sequence in the throne room is just probably one of my favorite sequences of all of Star Wars. You know, the Luke versus Vader with the Emperor looking on. You know, your fate and your friends will be yours, or whatever he says. You know, just great lines and great moments and throughout that sequence while the space battle's going on. An incredible space battle that still holds up well today. The special effects are fantastic. I mean, just amazing what they did with practical effects and the work they did back in the 70s and 80s.
I think that's one of the reasons why I love Star Wars so much, because these particular ones, because they didn't rely on CGI. You know,
well, there's a lot of CGI in the prequels.
Well, but I'm talking about in these when they were originally filmed, there was like no CGI. It was all practical effects and drawn in lasers and things like that.
Yeah.
And then you brought up, to me, Star Wars was, to me, the definition of a good score, like good music, a good score in a movie to capture those feelings. Because you take out the music out of Star Wars, it's good action on the screen, but it doesn't give you that same impact.
Well, music and sound is important in any film, you know, really. A great musical score and great sound effects can make or break any film. You know, and Star Wars is certainly one of the best at that. You know, Lucas developed his whole sound company with Skywalker Sound to make sure his film sounded the best, and they were top notch on the screen. And to this day, you know, 45 years later, what most major movie studios go to is Skywalker Sound, do their sound for their films.
Oh yeah,
and that's just what he did because he wants the sound experience to be part of the film. And you know, some other great stuff in this film is, you know, the big reveal that, you know, Leia is his sister. Very important to the story. And that's a big emotional moment in the movie. I always felt as a kid, and this is my one thing with the sequels is, unfortunately Carrie Fisher passed away, so we never got to see her do anything badass. But Return of the Jedi teased that, you know. And then as a kid, you're like, oh, he's her sister, and that's it. There's no more Star Wars, you know, for years until of course the sequels came out.
I mean, we had the books, but then they trashed all of those.
Yeah, you know, but it's not the same as seeing on the big screen.
Oh, yeah.
So that always confused me as a kid. I'm like, well, she's his sister, but then nothing happened. You know, it's like it's just kind of the movies are over. But it's still cool. Of course, it can't be unsaid that this is. A lot of people don't realize the one thing about Return of the Jedi, and it shows on the screen, is Harrison was done. He didn't really want to do it. He was basically doing it for the money. And Carrie's so high during most of the filming of this that it shows on screen. So some unfortunate side effects to during Return of the Jedi is Harrison's heart just wasn't in it, and Carrie just not even sure she knew she was there. You know, and I'm not saying anything people don't know. I'm not trying to bash her because, you know, God rest in peace. I love Carrie Fisher, but the truth is the truth. She was really messed up when she was doing this movie. Yeah. And it shows on screen, like her, if you look at her on her eyes, I've noticed this for years. She looks blitzed through a lot of her scenes on this film, and it shows. And Harrison, I don't think nails it in, but he kind of, he's a little campier in this, you know, cause he's like, I'm just going through the motions, but he still does this Han Solo thing.
I'll play it. And this movie also gave us the best one-liner in Star Wars. Anybody? Come on.
I have a bad feeling about this.
It's a trap.
Yeah.
I
don't know if that's my favorite.
It's a trap.
And,
it's a trap.
Well, the Ewok.
Every time Matt goes in his bedroom and, you know, his wife's there, he's like, it's a trap. But
the Ewoks were supposed to be Wookiees. But they
not enough material.
Well, no, even George had to answer to the financiers, and they didn't have enough because even though Star Wars was relatively an independent film, he still had financiers at this point by the time he made the sequels, people that bought into it in 20th Century Fox, and basically they weren't going to pay for Ewok costumes, and so they hired small people, and they made smaller costumes. So basically cut the budget in half. So he gave us Ewoks.
And the cast in half.
The cast in half. That's wrong but funny. So he gave us Ewoks, and I think the funny thing about this, it's like the Ewoks, the Stormtroopers. This is a lot of the Stormtrooper jokes come from this movie. Yeah, they missed their shots in the other two, but this one, like, the Stormtroopers are terrible. They're getting hit on the head with rocks. The Ewoks are just kicking their ass left and right. You're like, well, how are these little teddy bears doing all this? You know,
guerrilla warfare, man.
But it's cool. It
Ewok
works.
warfare.
You know, for what it is. The Ewok takes off on the speeder bike. It's a place for some good humor, and it gave Warwick Davis another role to play Wicket. You know. So it gave him something to do. But I'm okay with I've come to accept the Ewoks over the years. Just like
I like the Ewoks.
I've come to accept Jar Jar over the years. Just one of those things when you first see, you're like, yeah, but you get over it eventually. You know,
Jar Jar, yeah.
Jar Jar. I've come
this look on Mark's face.
I've come to forgive Jar Jar, but it's more. You know, when I watch Phantom Menace, it's more like, really, George, you thought that was a good line to write down in the script? It's not even so much Jar Jar.
It's not the characters. Or
Ahmed Best. Yeah, or because Ahmed Best does a good job with the motion capture. It's more the lines. I'm like, really, George?
The writing form was
you
bad.
really thought that was a good idea to say that? That's more what it is. You know? But yeah. Return of the Jedi, though, I do think is a... it's funny because I think it's a fantastic conclusion to the saga. And if we had never gotten the sequels, I'd been fine with that. And I think as much, what's funny, as much as people want to bash the sequels, they really don't do anything to affect the original trilogy, and that's my biggest thing is people say, oh, they changed the characters, they did this. Not really. The original trilogy is still there, and you can still enjoy Return of the Jedi for what it is, and as in a conclusion to the middle part of the story. And it's a great conclusion with some great sequences. The best lightsaber fight in all of Star Wars. A great opening sequence. I love the stuff in Tatooine on the skiff and all that, and Boba Fett. And Boba Fett, where's Boba Fett? And the Sarlacc pit. It's all really cool. And it's funny because there is a meme that's out there now because of the Sarlacc pit in The Mandalorian, like comes out of the sand or whatever, right?
Right.
But yet he couldn't pull Lando in Return of the Jedi. It's like, wait, what happened? He can't pull Lando in. He's got him wrapped around the leg, but he can come out of the ground in The Mandalorian. So that's kind of funny,
But it's like you never really catch it in Return of the Jedi, and at least the Book of Boba Fett explains why the handler cried when Luke killed it. The
Rancor.
The Rancor. Yeah.
You switched subjects here.
Sorry.
We're talking about the Sarlacc pit. I'm like, what are you talking about?
No. You're talking about just the whole on Boba Fett's thing. When he killed it, the guy's like crying, and you're like, always like, why is he crying? You don't really get the full until the Book of Boba Fett. But now you realize, when you watch it, or you realize, he had a real close emotional attachment to this monstrous creature.
Funny thing about the Rancor scene is a lot of people don't know this, that they had a lot of issues with it. Getting the Muppet to look right, the animatronics, they almost cut it from the film because they couldn't get it to look right. Wow. And they finally were able to come up with the Muppetry work and everything to make it look just good enough. But you go back and you watch the non-special editions, and Rancor scene's really rough looking.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I'm glad they did fix in the special editions, because you could tell it barely worked in the original version. So interesting fact about that, they almost were like going to cut it. But they finally were able to come up with something on screen that they made it work.
So the Rancor may never have existed.
Yeah, if they couldn't get the special effects to work right.
Crazy.
Yeah,
no Rancors.
Yeah, because it's a major scene in the film, and it almost did not work right. I wonder what they would have done instead. I'm sure they would have come up with something, but. Jabba the Hutt. I mean, the puppetry work in this film. Jabba the Hutt's all done with puppets and people inside a suit controlling the puppet. And that's just, you just don't see that nowadays in films. And kudos to the sequels for doing a lot of practical effects. They did do a lot of practical effects in them, a lot of puppetry work in the sequels that the prequels didn't do. In fact, Ewan McGregor was talking about when he showed up on set to start filming Obi-Wan. He's like, "Where's the green screens?" They're like, "What do you mean? We're not doing as much green screen work as we did the prequels." They're using those digital backgrounds that they're using and stuff like that. And it took Ewan a minute because Ewan was talking about like everything on the prequels is green screen. And he shows up to film he shows up to film Obi-Wan. There's actually parts of sets built. He was like, "Oh, this is cool."
You brought up the puppeteer work for Jabba the Hutt. Imagine if they never cut the scene out of out of A New Hope.
Oh, we got big hairy fat Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah, we just had some fat dude as Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have this cool slug looking character. Know,
we're not allowed to call her Slave Leia anymore, though. It's a not politically correct, even though she's in that smoking hot, sexy slave outfit.
You know what I say to politically correctness? Slave Leia still looks hot in her getup.
I mean. When you were a kid and she's on screen in that outfit, she's twirling around the gun thing with Luke on the skiff barge. I mean, I mean, were you as a kid? Are you turning your head trying to peek up it? I mean, you probably were.
You're like, how low can I go to look up the screen?
And I often wondered how she walked around in that on set. And
apparently
didn't show everything. I'm sure she has Poor Carrie.
Nah, I mean, I didn't mean no disrespect to her. I know. Back
it's just
then,
the truth.
Back then, everybody,
she was very open about it, though. She wrote a book about it. There was even a movie made about her story.
Yeah,
I mean, so she
turned her life around.
It's nothing. She was very open about it. So it's nothing people don't know. So it's very.
Yeah, we still all love her. So
yeah, and then I love the scene too where Billy D. Williams, Lando Calrissian, is going to take the Falcon out, and Han's like, not a scratch. He's like, not a scratch. I got it. And then we get the Solo movie several years later, which I thought was cool because it gave us some background to that scene in Return of the Jedi as what the ship meant to those two guys. I really, that's one thing I did like about Solo was the relationship between Han and Lando, and it gave us some background as to like why he calls him Han instead of Han. They did a lot of stuff in that Solo, and I like it how it adds meaning to some of those little scenes in Return of the Jedi quite a bit.
Not a scratch, but yet he takes off the dish.
Yeah, it's such an amazing space sequence too in Return of the Jedi with all the ships. It was the biggest space battle ever on screen until '94 when Babylon 5 actually beat the record. Was for the most ships on screen with one of the season 4 episodes where they're fighting the shadows, and then the record was broke again. I don't know if it was a Star Wars movie, or something, but there was a movie. It might have been.
Surprised it's not one of the prequels.
No, I want to say. I'm trying. I don't know. I have to look it up. I know the record's been broken since Babylon 5. For most spaceships on screen.
Wing Commander. The movie. No.
It's been broke a couple of times because I think even Serenity broke it when it came out with all the ships that show up at the planet at the end. And then I think it's been broke again since then. There's been a few films I think have broken the record for most spaceships on screen.
Rogue One.
It's the person doing that, sitting there and counting all the ships on screen.
Well, how about the people that sit there and calculate ships that are incomparable size to each other, like how big the Millennium Falcon is to a Death Star, how big that, and then not just talking about Star Wars, but then they put them up against other ships and other sci-fi stuff.
But the publishers put out fact books for that stuff too. But someone actually has to sit there and count that stuff on the screen.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Nerds.
Yeah, true.
Nerds.
What else is there to say about Return of the Jedi, man? I mean, it deserves
the musical number at the beginning.
Oh, the musical number doesn't bother me. Lucas wanted that in the original version, and he wasn't able to do it at the time with the budget and the restraints of puppeteer work he had. So he added it in the special editions, and I'm fine with it. It's kind of goofy, kind of silly, but I always step back and I think these movies are initially for kids, and they're for adults too. But they're so I'm not going to knock. I'd rather have the musical number than the animal farting in Jar Jar's face.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the way I look at it. The musical number is fine. It's only about 45 seconds of the film. It's not that big a deal,
Yeah.
It's like because I'm one of the few people that I'm fine with the special editions. I have a bootleg copy of the originals, and I tried to watch them, and they're really hard to watch. I've come to really appreciate the special editions almost 20 years later. It is over 20 years later now, because I think films are a work of art, and I think it's okay to change them and add to them. Every time I watch Terminator, I wish James Cameron would go in and fix the special effects at the end of the film because they don't hold up well. They're kind of bad looking. The movie holds up well, but the special effects at the end are pretty awful. And it's
movie?
The Terminator. Cameron toyed with the idea at one time. He thought about doing a special edition of the Terminator, and he never did it. Because, man, when the Terminator is walking through the hallway at the end, it's really very bad looking. So I'm okay with it.
I kind of like it.
Yeah, no, it has a charm to it. No, you're right. But what I'm trying to get at is I'm okay with filmmakers changing stuff to make it for the better. And what's funny is Return of the Jedi has the least amount of changes to it. They added the musical number. They fixed the Rancor stuff and the matte screens behind some of the scenes. But really, compared to Empire and Star Wars, it has the least amount of changes overall as far as the special edition goes.
I think it's probably ideas he had in his head either before or after that he, budget wise and just, everything else that you can't add it, you couldn't add to it in the original filming.
Yeah.
So it's good that they They did some of it. I wasn't down with all of it, but not enough to where I hated it.
I was a Star Wars. I am a Star Wars fanatic. I saw the special editions, each of them at least twice in theaters. I think I saw Star Wars like 3 times. I was at the theater a lot those 6 weeks that these movies were out in theaters because I was going to soak it in and enjoy it as much as I could while I was on the big screen.
And I'm surprised a lot of theaters didn't run them in the theaters this month.
Well, a lot of that though has to do with Disney does not do repertory films. Once that's the worst thing about when Disney bought Star Wars and Indiana Jones and all that and Aliens, you're never going to see art house movies showing these again. Disney doesn't do it.
Wow,
they'll do it for like charity events and special things, but that's the biggest shame. It's like all these movies like Aliens and stuff that Disney now owns, you might never get to see on the big screen again because Disney just doesn't do it, and it sucks. It's just how they are. They've been like that, but they've been like that for years.
No, they need to change that.
And,
because, I mean, you think about it. Like, I know y'all's kids would probably like to see certain ones of their animated movies on the big screen that they never got to see on it.
Yeah, but I also think it's a changing of the times now with streaming services and things like that.
I hate streaming. I don't hate streaming. I think you should see as many movies in the theater as you can.
But that's Disney's choice. But any other thoughts for Return of the Jedi before we continue on with the 300th episode?
I think there's an age-old question. Who was the chosen one? Was it Anakin, who eventually did take out the Emperor upon, seeing the goodness in him and wanting to protect his son? Or was it Luke? Did Luke bring balance to the Force, which, one you could argue he did. Or maybe they both.
It's Anakin.
It's Anakin? Yeah, me too.
I think it's Anakin because Anakin brought balance to the Force by having twins that brought the balance to the Force. So I think Anakin's still the chosen one. I don't think I've heard that question before, but I don't think it changed. Luke simply was able to carry on the Jedi line, but I don't think that he was the chosen one. I always thought it was Anakin.
Or was it Rey?
No, it wasn't Rey.
No. Think about it: blood of a Sith, heart of a Jedi.
Yeah, no, it's Anakin.
It's Anakin.
Of course it is.
Quit trying to make Rey Skywalker happen. It's not going to happen.
So what do you guys? I mean, I give Return of the Jedi a pretty solid A.
A.
Yeah, I don't think I can go quite. I love it, but I don't think I can quite go A+ with it just because of the silliness of the Ewoks. That holds it back a little bit for me.
I'm not going to rate a movie I love. I'll just put it like that. I'm not going to give it a rating.
Well, it's okay to rate a movie you love.
Nah, because a rating just doesn't justify how much out of all the movies, this is one of those that I can keep going back and watching. Even out of all the Star Wars movies, this is the one that I enjoy watching the most. So I'm just not going to give it my ranking other than Love. That's my ranking.
Why do we have you on the show if you don't give it a ranking?
That is my ranking. It's Love. Love is my ranking.
Love is his ranking.
No, he said no. It's S tier, right?
S tier.
S tier. Yep.
Sure was a good idea, Long. You sure?
Just remember, this is as Long said, this was all his idea to have me on the 300th episode.
All right.
Oh, so you do acknowledge it was me lobbying it. No.
Well, you said it first, so yeah, I guess.
Now it's time to celebrate 300 episodes. We're gonna play some trivia in a minute, and we're gonna soak in our own glory of 300 episodes here for a bit. Before we.
Well, let me give it a score of an A.
Oh,
so,
yeah. Before we do news or preview next week, so an A. That's fair enough for Return of the Jedi. 300, man. We put a lot of work in this show over the years, and I when I started it, I didn't know how far it would go. I was just like bored. I was like, let's start a fucking podcast, And then I think me and Frank were sitting around probably having some beers or something. Frank's like, well, just call it the Rebel Radio Podcast as we did a radio show. I'm like, that's a good idea. And, you go back, you listen to some of those first 10 or 15 episodes, and God, they're awful. We didn't know what we were doing. We tried a Kickstarter campaign to buy equipment, but that was an epic failure because we had no idea what we were doing. There's some things I might have done differently if I started a new show, or something, but that's okay. It was a learning experience. And the best part about it was I got to hang with my best buds and talk pop culture stuff. The show early on had had no direction. They were just kind of random episodes. We would text back and forth like, well, what do we want to talk about this week? Or sometimes we would text at all and y'all would show up and I'd be like, oh, this is what we're talking about. And y'all would just follow my lead. And then we went through a spiel with Hurricane Harvey hit, and the numbers were dropping on the show, and we didn't do a show for like 6 weeks, and everyone was really busy recovering from the hurricane, and we even talked about at one point ending the show around episode 79, 80 or whatever it was, just because we're like, do we have in our heart to do that? And I think me and Matt were talking, and I was like, well, let's restructure the show and come up with an idea of a feature film every month. And at first we weren't sure if we wanted to do that because it felt real cliche because a lot of podcasts do that. They have feature films and everything. But then, it was like, fuck it. It's our podcast. We're going to do what we want to do. And if people listen to it, great. If they don't, whatever. We're doing what we enjoy to do. And people have listened to it and they've enjoyed it. And I've gotten some positive feedback from people at work. I know Matt's had people at his work that have told him they enjoy the show. And so we rebooted the show starting out with 1989's Batman with episode 81. That's when we started doing a feature film. And now 119 or 219 movies later, man, we're at episode 300. And it's a tribute to the work we've all put into it. Even Frank, when he was on the show, putting the work into it and driving over to do the show. And I'm going to give some of my favorite moments of the show. And while I'm doing that, I want you guys to think about it and share some of y'all's. And I might be repeating myself. People have listened to the show a long time, but that's okay. One of my favorite episodes we ever did, I really enjoyed it, was it's funny. I'm real introverted. I may not come across that way because I'm behind a mic and I'm real comfortable with you guys, but you guys know me and y'all know I'm a pretty introverted, kind of not antisocial, but social anxiety type person. I don't really like to be in front of people in crowds. So the live shows we do at Compalooza or Misfit Toys absolutely terrify me. They really do. Y'all may not know that, but every time I have to really get into my head to do them. But that being said, they've also been some of my favorite shows. The ones we did with the 501st at Compalooza when we had I can't think, Nikki and her and Josh, which they are now separated, so I don't want to put their news out there, but they were husband and wife at the time. And they came on and talked to 501st with Brian. And that was one of my favorite live shows we did at Compalooza. I also really, I know Long, we were talking pre-show about how we drug you to Compalooza last year, but man, I really had fun doing the Arnold Schwarzenegger show because it was different than what we normally do.
That was fun.
It was fun.
Yeah, I ended up having fun.
Yeah. And then the couple of shows, I really enjoyed the show we did at Misfit Toys where we did I think it was Army of Darkness, and we had Daniel on the show with us, and that was a lot of fun because Daniel's always such a big supporter of us. I actually saw him a few weeks ago, and he said, man, whenever you want to do a show, you can come back. So maybe this summer we could try to do a show over there again with Daniel. And then just covering some great movies. It's Memorial Day weekend, and I was thinking about I really enjoyed the Saving Private Ryan episode when Rob came on with us. Just a really important film to cover. I enjoy the quirky stuff too. I'm trying to think. The Dread episode was really good. I know Long, that's one of your favorites. You talked about that. My favorite movies, doing stuff like Transformers the animated movie or The Crow was a good one for me. Some of my favorite movies. Those just some of my favorite moments and the things we've got to experience through our podcast at Comic Palooza and getting passes to go and hang out with Ming Chen from AMC's Comic Book Men, or get to meet Jason Mewes or Mike Zapsik from Comic Book Men. Things like that might have not been possible if it wasn't for this show. And I like to have I don't think Matt made it that morning, but Long was with me, and I have a really great photo of me and Long and Mike Zapsik when we interviewed him. And that was just really cool. And just moments like that wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for this show. And so I'm real grateful for that. And here we are at 300 episodes and still going strong. And will we make it our 300? Who knows? Right now I just take it a week at a time and enjoy it. And we've got some great movies on the docket coming up the next couple of months as we've been going over the list. My birthday's coming up, so it'll be a birthday movie for me, and Matt's birthday coming up. And then we'll do our Halloween horrors in October, as we always do. So there's just some of my thoughts. And so I want you guys to share some things, y'all. We'll let Matt and Long go first, and Frank's has been kind of an outsider looking in the last couple of years, but I still want Frank to share some of his thoughts and his favorite moments because he's been part of the show. But longer, Matt, whoever wants to go.
I'll go. Well, if it weren't for the show, I wouldn't have been able to meet Akira Takarada, who passed away recently. Actually, a couple months ago. One of the OGs of the Godzilla films, the franchise, passed away at 95, 98.
Wow.
If it weren't for the show, I wouldn't be able to meet Akira Takarada, which is really awesome. I don't get starstruck, but I was starstruck. It's like never in a million years I would meet a Japanese actor, from halfway across the world, who's also in his senior years. It's like the odds of meeting one of your childhood heroes was like, that was just awesome to me, a once in a lifetime chance, and I'm grateful for that first and foremost. There was a couple of moments that stuck out to me, and some of them were from Comic Palooza. The year before, when we had to do that weird quiz contest thing.
Oh, the Battle Royale with Cheese.
The Battle Royale with Cheese against the other podcast show. Yeah. And like Matt and Mark were there for, I think it was their day 2 of Comic Palooza, and they look exhausted. I didn't expect them to be exhausted, but I ended up having to be kind of had to, bring up the showmanship a little bit, and because Mark was a little nervous and Matt was tired, and then it's like, guys, help me out here, because we had the what was it, the original trilogy as a topic.
With original,
we were
trilogy.
pro originals, and then the others were pro prequels. And and I kind of had to act like a Matlock, bring out my Matlock impression. And then the following year, which I was like pissing and moaning about going to Comic Palooza, and Mark and Matt were kind of troopers about it. They're like putting up with my bitching and complaining, and when it finally showtime started record, I ended up having fun on that Arnold Schwarzenegger panel, and I got to call out Ming Chen finally.
Yeah.
In the middle, I was like, Ming Chen! I was screaming from the microphone.
He's like, oh, hey.
Yeah. I forgot what I said to him. Yeah. Of course, the Dread episode, which I kind of gave Matt a hard time, since kind of broke the news that he was having a 4th kid.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that's that's one of my favorite introductions that we've ever recorded too. So one of my favorite review episodes is definitely our total picking apart Endgame. I think that was definitely one of our best. I think in my mind, our best reviewed movie was Avengers Endgame, where we totally picked it apart in a good way and talked about all the individual moments and just reacting, giving our first impressions. That's actually one of my favorite movie features that we did. And then, of course, the birthday episodes.
Yes.
And sometimes some of our arguments can go out of, can be pretty entertaining too. If you go back and listen. Our debate. Oh, you should see some of our text messages sometimes, Frank. Man, sometimes we go back and forth, and sometimes a lot of the flame wars would happen in our text exchanges, and that's the reason why we are ending Duel of the Nerds sub feature too, because
too heated.
Like, someone had to pick a topic, and there was an argument. That's so lame. That's so predictable, and all that stuff. But everyone's arguing already, and it's like, you know what? I think we should end this feature because we're always pissing and moaning at each other, and we don't
Mark
want
forgot that we done Duel of the Nerds before.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. We talked about it. We called it Face Off. It was a little bit different.
I was like, this sounds familiar to me.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. I had one of those moments with it because I think I told you where you're like, man, how did I lose? But
it's all down to the way you present it, and then the person's opinion about how you presented it.
Basically, Matt was a bitch.
Yeah, what was up with that last episode? Really, dude? The musical?
Man.
For the last one, the musical.
You like Downtown Abbey. You're like, how do you not like musicals?
I have two questions for Long. One, where can I get some of that X Love? Do I need a prescription?
Oh yeah.
And can I borrow the Infinity Love Glove?
Love glove. No, I got the Space Gym to transport them in.
Yeah, but I want the whole glove.
Right, I got you.
The whole glove. You know what I mean?
The whole glove.
Yeah. With the glove. Let's be honest.
Yeah. What's your reaction to my story?
I loved it, dude. I was laughing so hard listening to it.
My Infinity
you did a great job. Even if Matt tried, you would have still won with that one.
Thanks. But yeah, man, it's and it's just a good outlet to vent about our week, So
yeah.
And then COVID just turned things around, and just
we
had to record things remotely. It's kind of a blessing in disguise because I enjoyed recording remotely. So.
Makes it easier for you guys.
Yeah. Now, yeah.
Especially today's gas prices.
Well, it's funny. We live that far away.
So what? Today's gas prices.
It's funny you mentioned the COVID because one of the last major. Until Compalooza last year, one of the last major things we went to, me and Matt went to that bar over near downtown, and we had to be part of the Battle Royale with Cheese. It was a Compalooza event with a bunch of podcasters, and me and Matt sucked bad.
Yeah.
Oh,
I can see
and
that.
So that was, and then of course about a month and a half later, everything started shutting down, and that was early 2020. So yeah.
Did I text y'all while you were doing that? Like, I'll be there in spirit.
Probably, yeah.
The friend of the show, Justin Corbett. I mean, he said I made a pretty good argument that night. We had Link. We had some bad characters to go against Colt 45's guys. So they had Darth Vader, and they're like, Darth Vader has the Force, and I was like, Link has the Triforce. It's 3 forces. And he's like, that was good. That was a good one. Yeah. I was like, yeah, I can get a good shot in.
You beat him with math, basically.
Yes, math.
Yeah.
But that was definitely a fun part of the show. Yeah, just the stuff you get into, the stuff you get invited to, the podcast meetups. Those are fun. Just networking. And meeting other guys that talk about the same shit that you do, and you just start talking about 80s action films with somebody, or old school horror films, or the MCU, whatever. And it's fun. It's a good time. It's a good realm of things to be in. This podcast.
Anything specific?
Any highlights over the years here, Matt?
Oh, yeah. Just every single birthday movie I pick, and you guys are like, what the fuck is this?
Which will be the same for the next one.
I don't know. I think you
kind of gave me a lead on them, so they're not as bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like, I think even the ones that Mark wouldn't want to do, they're popular movies, and would be easy to watch and stuff. So, we'll look forward to that. The birthday movies, they just come up faster than you think every year, and
birthdays come up faster every year.
yeah, for real. Time flies. So those are definitely fun because you kind of get a look into the stuff that each co-host or main host likes, and what's what they're feeling at that time, and they get to talk about a film that they like, and for whatever reasons, whether it's a cult following film or just a really, really good film that we haven't covered, And Long, I watched a bunch of Godzilla films because of the movies he's introduced. I always, you get into different things whenever you experience the handpicked movies by that person. So cool stuff, man.
I'll share another funny moment. One of our Halloween specials, when we did Hellraiser that week.
Oh yeah.
Me and Mark, we were both freaked out because we never seen Hellraiser, and we were like, it's like I recalled when we were recording that episode, our reaction. We were telling Matt, like, this movie's fucked up. Me and Mark were clearly disturbed by it. I mean, that's the power of that movie, though. Yeah. I mean, and then I was so looking forward to Hellraiser 2. It was like, dang, if Hellraiser 1 was just good, Hellraiser 2 must be something else. And I ended up not liking it as much as the first movie, which is, I thought the second one, everyone always talked about the second one. Mm-hmm. But the first one, I thought I liked it even more. But yeah, it's kind of a, and then there were those couple years back during the Halloween episodes, I would share ghost stories too. And I try to bring that back last year. So I hope to bring back ghost stories at the end of each episode again.
Yeah, you made me think of something. I always like it too when we cover a film that one of us has not seen before, because I think it's always neat to see people's initial reactions to things. A few weeks ago, Matt had never seen Smoking Aces before. It's like we on our docket is in the summer we have Field of Dreams on the docket, and it was just by coincidence that Ray Liotta passed away this week, but it's something because Long and Mitchie Long's never seen Field of Dreams, so I'm like going to be really curious to see what his thoughts are when he sees it. So I think that's always neat, because there's been some that surprised me, like Matt mentioned Godzilla films he's never seen. Like I had never seen Long's favorite film, Godzilla vs. Mothra, until we covered it for his birthday. Yeah. And I know I gave him a hard time about the caterpillar things shooting out sperm or whatever, but overall I actually really enjoyed the movie. What? It was sperm, okay? We're just going with it.
It wasn't.
I know it wasn't, but we're going with it.
It was their cocoon stuff.
So those are always fun to hear y'all's reactions. And
Shut up, Mark.
Just to bust each other's balls, so to speak, every week, and give each other a hard time, and some people that I imagine sometimes there's people that are very literal in the world, and they listen to the podcast. They might think, man, these guys fucking hate each other, which is far from the truth. We just mess with each other, and I hope that comes across on the audio that we are our best friends, and that we do truly love to have fun and talk the show and movies and mess with each other. And Frank, man, I know you haven't been on in a while, but you're a big part of the show, man. You helped get it started, and you were all, man. One thing I have to say about Frank, man, when we're out at Comic Palooza and stuff, man, this guy is the best promoter that money doesn't buy, because I can just feed him lunch and he'll go promote the show.
You don't even feed me lunch.
Frank will go hand out buttons and stickers and flyers relentlessly. And I always love that about him, because he's not shy like me and not introverted like me. So those are just something that Frank always did great for the show, promote it. Well, you're man, give some thoughts, man, on us reaching 300 and maybe some of your highlights from when you've been on the show and live shows and stuff.
Well, since it's been how long ago since the last time I was on it?
200 and something.
Yeah, I think you
or
told
194
me.
episodes.
Yeah, so it's been a while. I don't think my memory's that long. I just enjoyed hanging out with you guys. I mean, it was not necessarily a particular episode. It's just when we were getting together at your place and chilling and, hanging out, get to see you guys at least once a week. We used to all live closer together, but now I'm way out across town. So I kind of miss the hanging out and everything with you guys. But like I said, Long came along and, it's doing excellent, I think he's helped out the show a lot. So that's good that he's on here.
I actually invited myself onto the show.
He did, but you're right.
You still had to accept it. But I'm glad Long came along.
This is the.
I'm not saying Long.
This is the general comments. I'll be honest with you. This is the general comments I get from people about the show. They're like, Mark, you're a good host. Long is very knowledgeable, and Matt brings the ridiculous humor.
Yes,
that's honestly
exactly.
And maybe I'm paraphrasing, but that's honestly what people tell me, and it's just the truth, And they're not saying that me and Matt aren't knowledgeable too, but that's just the way people look at the show.
It's the role y'all play on the show.
The biggest impact from each person.
Right.
Yeah. I could tell you, Frank. Sometimes they're like, I know they miss you having they miss having you on the show.
What are you talking about?
No, they do. They don't admit it. Because you're there, they don't admit it. But
no, I admit it.
I think Mark was glad I was.
But I try to fill that void. That sometimes I'll try to be the outspoken one at times, and then when there are times when, what are your go-to lines when you didn't see a movie when you're supposed to, Frank?
You're like,
I like that.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that scene. It was a pretty good scene. You just everybody else, like they'll say something like, "Oh yeah, that was good. That was good."
No, I think Frank and me, Frank not being on the show is better for our relationship. Probably
it is.
That's friends because me and Frank fight like brothers.
Yeah, I realize anything that seems like, I don't want to say this seems like work because it's a passion, but it's also work. You have to put the time and effort into it. And anytime Mark and I are like in a work relationship, we don't do well. I would never like work with my best friend ever again. But but I love him to death.
But 300 episodes, man. I just want to say thank you to you guys for helping me with the show and being part of it, and thank you to the listeners and the people that have taken the time to go to our social media, to our website, to download an episode and listen to it on the way to work or at school or whatever. To wear our sticker proudly. I have a few, before we get into our trivia, because that became a tradition with 200th episode. We're going to do some trivia here in a minute. A few thank yous I want to say to Kerry Gordon for encouraging me to do the podcast and helping me be part of Compalooza. Some of our guests we've had on the show, Rob Zip, Rob from Ramblin' Ramblings with Rob, Jason Elliott from Bayou City Geeks, Lindsay from her, she's no longer does her podcast, but her being on the show. Matt Ramirez, who came on to the raid with us. Ming Chim, I know he won't hear it, but he's always been a supporter of the show and has always been a big podcast supporter at Compalooza. Justin Corbett and Erica Eklund, of course. Well, she's at Erica Corbett now. Justin's always been a big supporter of the show, and Carrie's podcast co-host, Dave Armour and George Stripsis. Those guys always good friends, supporters of the show. And if I left anyone off that was a guest on the show, it wasn't intended. I'm trying to
Winter.
Winter, of course, Winter. Yeah, she's come on a couple episodes and always been a good guest. And Brandon from Colt 45 came on, did Con Air with us. That was a lot of fucking fun. I mean, that was one of we were cracking up on that episode. And if I did leave anyone else out, it wasn't intended, but I'm just trying to thank some of the people that have been on the show for our 300 episodes. We've had people, Brian, of course, Brian from 501st. He's been on a few episodes. But yeah, I shouldn't want to leave anybody out. But thank all those people for helping make the Rebel Radio podcast what it is. And so let's do our. It's kind of.
Don't forget that cosplay chick we invited on Comic Palooza.
Yeah, Julia Denham.
I'm not talking about her. It's one of the worst episodes ever. Fucking fuck that shit. Why are you trying to trigger me, Log? Anyway,
I had to.
The shit on these guys' faces.
I don't know. I'm gonna punch them motherfuckers when I see them. Thank
you, Zoom.
But Kerry came on our 200th episode. We did The Empire Strikes Back, and he kind of brought trivia. So I felt like it was sort of a tradition doing a milestone episode. So I've got some questions. These are open to all three of y'all to answer. Some are hard, some are easy. They're just random pop culture questions. I literally did this off the top of my head, but I think they're pretty good. There's about 20 of them or so, but they'll go quicker than you think. And these are, like I said, these are totally random. So when you hear it, you're going to be like, wait, what? Don't be looking at the cheat sheet, Frank. All right. The first question is, what is the name of the Shadow's alter ego?
What's the what?
The Shadow's alter ego. See, I told someone we're going to be hard.
Liam Neeson.
That's the Dark Man.
Damn it.
Alec Baldwin played the Shadow.
Oh, yeah.
No one's going to get this because y'all suck.
No.
Let's hope
Wait a
y'all-
minute. Shadow's alter ego. I thought you meant like his real name in the
Yeah, his real
comics.
name.
Oh, okay. Now Alec Baldwin, who's the actor? Okay.
Lamont Cranston. So you know when you hear it. Like I said, some of these stars.
Man, only your grandparents would know that.
What planet does Flash Gordon get transported to? Come on, this one's not that hard.
Ming? I don't know.
Ming was the bad guy.
Yeah, Ming was the bad guy.
What's this planet?
Man, I didn't think
It's been
these
a
were
while since I've seen Flash Gordon.
I've only seen Flesh Gordon, but not Flash Gordon.
Flash Gordon.
Ming was close. It's Planet Mongo.
Yeah.
Ah,
All right, this is easy. There's some easy ones coming up. How many original Planet of the Apes films are there?
4?
9?
Original films.
4?
9.
5?
There's not
6? 6?
9.
You're just throwing out numbers over here, Frank. There's
11.
5.
Oh,
The original.
Hey, I got the bookends.
Who played the Penguin in the 1966 Batman TV show?
Burgess Meredith.
Long, if you don't get this one, you're going to disappoint me. What year did Star Trek debut on TV?
Shit. 1964?
Close.
65.
It's actually the same year as Batman. 66.
Really?
66. Huh.
So then how come they don't call it Star Trek 66?
What comic issue did Spider-Man first appear in? This is a pop culture staple, man.
Wait, what was it?
What comic issue did Spider-Man first appear in?
Action Comics, number 36.
That's DC.
Oh, wait, that was Superman.
God, I didn't think these were that hard. Amazing,
What was your answer? What was your answer? I didn't hear it.
Amazing Fantasy 15. Come on, man.
Oh, okay.
In Transformers the movie, who takes over the Matrix of leadership from Optimus Prime?
Which movie?
Transformers the movie.
Oh, it was Rodimus Prime?
Wrong, technically.
Not Rodimus. The other one that looked
Hot
like...
Rod.
No,
Wrong,
no.
technically. Ultra Magnus first.
Was it
All right.
Magnus?
Yeah.
From Prime.
Yeah.
I didn't say from Ultra Magnus. What was the second Robin's name?
Jason
Robin?
Todd.
Jason Todd. What movie does Saving Private Ryan lose Best Picture to?
Ooh.
Was it Crash?
No. Crash was a couple years before. One of the worst Oscar flibs ever. It had Ben Affleck in the movie.
Geely?
No. Shakespeare in Love.
Ah.
Terrible. In Star Wars lore, what planet are the clones made on?
Camino.
See, some of these are easy. What did Kevin Smith sell to make Clerks? I know we all know the story that he maxed out credit cards too, but there's something that was
Comic
very
books.
important.
Weed?
Yes, his comic book, his comic book collection. That's right. It was very important to him. In 2006-ish, Paramount wanted to make Iron Man with what actor?
Tom Cruise.
We give Frank that one since he said it
Yeah.
first.
He did.
Who was the voice of Skeletor in the original animated series?
Mangela.
No, that's
Crap.
the movie. Animated series.
Oh, anime. Crap. I don't know.
Alan Oppenheimer.
Ah.
What movie does Spielberg want to make before Lucas convinced him to make Indiana Jones?
James Bond.
Wanted to make a Bond film.
Nice.
What director was going to make Spider-Man in the 90s? Come on, it's easy.
James Cameron.
Yeah, I was like, come on. Let's see.
I'm just trying to picture how that would have turned
What
out.
movie do I absolutely hate?
Tropic Thunder.
Yes.
Oh. I was going to say Scary Movie 2.
What shockingly happens in the first issue of the original Ninja Turtles comic?
Doesn't Splinter die? Not Splinter, but
You're almost there.
Master. Yeah, the rat.
Yoshi?
No, not the rat.
Splinter's Master.
Shredder. They kill
Shredder.
off.
Shredder. Yeah, Shredder.
They kill off the villain in the first episode because they didn't know they were going to make more comics.
Yeah.
All right, here's some one-off. Oh no, let me finish these first. This is an easy one. In Rocky 3, who plays Clubber Lang?
Mr. T.
Mr. T. Yeah.
I threw this on here. In Goodfellas, who does Ray Liotta play? Based on a real character.
Fuck, I forget his character name.
Goodfellas?
Tony.
Henry Hill.
Not Tony.
Henry Hill.
Henry Hill.
All right, here's some one-offs. Y'all can each of y'all can answer this. Christopher Reeve or Henry Cavill?
Ooh.
Reeve.
No answer, Frank?
Well, if I say Reeve, then it just sounds like I'm going with everybody else.
No, it's okay. I would go to Reeve.
No, go with your heart, your gut.
Reeve.
Yeah.
I know everyone's gonna say Keaton, but Keaton or Affleck?
Duh.
Keaton.
Because I felt like if I had put Bale or anyone on there, everyone would have said Keaton. Even though
Keaton.
Keaton is Batman.
Edward Norton or Mark Ruffalo?
Ruffalo.
See, I really wanted to see more of Norton's, but I've come to like Ruffalo.
He reminds me of Bill Bixby.
Yeah, he does. Sean Connery or Roger Moore?
Sean Connery.
Roger Moore.
I knew Long pick. I like Connery.
But I'm not going to diss Moore either.
Pierce Bronson or Daniel Craig?
Bronson.
Ooh, Craig.
I got to go with Craig.
Yeah.
And we talked a little bit about repertory films earlier. What's one movie, if you can see on the big screen again, what'd you see?
Ooh.
The Never-Ending Story.
Really?
Nice.
Really?
Yes.
Mm.
Oh, I have a special.
I mean, I like
There's
it.
a reason why, because I got to see it. The first time I saw it was at school when it came out on VHS tape. That's how old I am. But then I went on a vacation with my grandparents, and my great uncle had a big screen TV and the laser disc version of it, and just seeing that blew my mind how good it looked, and I just fell in love with the movie because of that.
I'd like to see Cameron's Aliens on the big screen. I think that's one movie that I'd really like to see on the big screen.
I would love to see Ghostbusters to be with the audience and their reaction to some of the jokes.
Mm-hmm. Matt, did you pick one?
I would say Terminator 2.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Or True Lies for me.
Ooh, True Lies.
I saw True Lies in a theater.
Did we see that together? Was it?
No, it came out for us.
I'm trying to think.
That was like 97
yeah,
or
maybe,
so.
Yeah.
That's it, man, for trivia. So you guys sucked for the most part, but maybe my questions were harder than I thought they were. Or maybe I'm just overly nerdy. I don't know.
You're overly nerdy.
Let's do some news. We're going to start with trailers. There are a lot of trailers this week. We got our first look at Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. And, this is a good trailer, honestly. I mean, it's intense. The ending of the trailer where Ethan Hunt's going off the side of the mountain off the bike, I was like, wow, this fucking looks cool as shit. This franchise has just consistently gotten better as it's going along. It's been a hell of a great spy thriller franchise, and if Fallout was any indication how good that was, it looks like they're going to continue with this with episode 7. Any of y'all's thoughts on that trailer?
A lot of action in it.
Yeah.
I mean, did they save any for the movie?
They're bringing back what's his name from Mission Impossible 1, so the CIA guy. So intense trailer. I take you didn't watch the trailer, Matt. I can tell from your reaction.
I didn't.
You didn't know they brought back the guy from Part 1.
I only got to see it because
I saw that.
I don't go out of my way to see Tom Cruise trailers.
Well, your homework before you go to bed, Matt, is watch the trailer.
Watch the trailer.
Thor: Love and Thunder released a new trailer this week. I know I didn't care for the first trailer that much, but I like this trailer a lot more. We got our first look at Christian Bale's what's his character's name? Gore the God Butcher.
Yep.
You got a little better look at Natalie Portman as Lady Thor. Just an overall better trailer. I think it sold the movie to me more. Quite a humorous scene at the end where Thor basically gets stripped down naked. The ladies will enjoy that. I'm sure Matt enjoyed it too. But I took a shot at Matt. He just, what are you doing, man? Why are you putting Freak's face on your camera? It's so bizarre. but definitely a better trailer than.
He's weirding me out with my own face.
Long, did you watch the Thor trailer?
Yes, I enjoyed it quite a bit, and
yeah,
can't wait. I'm definitely going to put in a vacation request for that.
I didn't know Russell Crowe's in that movie, and he plays Zeus. I didn't know so Russell Crowe is another character is now in the DCU and in the MCU.
Oh yeah,
and
the fact that Christian's in it, there's an ongoing joke that like after you do a DC movie and then you go into a Marvel movie, your Marvel character is way better than your DC character.
Who'd you say, Christian?
Or whatever, Bell.
Russell Crowe?
No.
Christian Bale? I doubt it because he was a pretty damn good Batman. So.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like, he played one of the best characters. So can he top that? Because everybody else has topped their DC character with the Marvel character. The question is, can he? I know he's like a big role in this, but you know what I mean?
I guess. I'm trying to think, though, how many characters have been in DC and then played a Marvel character?
I'm talking about actors.
I know, but I mean, I'm just trying to think how many. Not that many. But a few.
Quite a few. Almost 10.
But some are the opposite. Affleck played a really bad Daredevil movie, then he played a pretty badass Batman. So that was the opposite. See, so it goes both ways. We got our first look at the new Cassian Andor series from Star Wars. It comes out in August. Interesting. It's going to be 24 episodes, 2 seasons of 12 episodes each, and it's going to start about 5 years before Rogue One and lead up to how Cassian got to where he was at the beginning of Rogue One. And I know people are kind of getting tired of the prequel thing, but arguably Diego Luna's character was one of the most interesting characters in Rogue One, and I think he's a fantastic actor. And I'm kind of looking forward to seeing more underworld type Star Wars stuff. I really like that opening scene in Rogue One where he's in the underworld and he's trying to maneuver his way around, and I think it looks kind of cool to see more of that.
Yeah. I thought it looked cool.
Yeah. It was weird because the trailer is kind of like a non-Star Wars-y trailer. It's like a lot of just like humans and people. There's not a whole lot of aliens and stuff in it. It's kind of interesting the way the trailer was done. But and it's coming out sooner than I thought. I thought maybe that show's a little further away, but it's just a couple months away. We got our first look at the Willow TV series this week. And I was really surprised. It looks really good. Looks like they're spending a lot of money on it, a lot of magic work and budgets for special effects, and I really enjoy the original Willow movie quite a bit, and so I think it's cool they're going to continue the story and bring Willow back many years later.
Yeah, I mean, dang, how long has it been?
It was 88.
It was 88, yeah.
Yeah, wow.
It's almost as old as I am. Shit.
Yeah. I think Willow's good. I think Willow's kind of underappreciated. It kind of disappeared for some years there, and then when it got re-released on Blu-ray a few years ago, and now with Disney Plus, it seems like it's starting to find new fans, so to speak. And obviously, Disney thinks so. If they're bringing back, and Lucasfilm is bringing it back, they feel that there's.
Well, I can tell you, I underappreciate Willow too.
Yes, Long. I might do Willow for my birthday movie. Who knows?
I kill you.
Hey, it's streaming. It's streaming on Disney Plus. Yeah.
More Star Wars news. It's a big Star Wars week. They announced a sequel to Fallen Order called Jedi Survivor. So we get more adventures of Cade as a wandering Jedi. I haven't finished Fallen Order, but obviously a very popular game, and people really liked it a lot. So they're doing another one. We're going to get another Star Wars series from. I feel like they didn't come out and say it at Celebration, but it seems like the one that was supposed to star Cara Dune is probably not going to happen. So it feels to me like this new Skeleton Crew show with Jude Law is kind of replacing that. That's kind of the vibe I got. So we're not going to do this other show over here with her, but we got Jude Law to come in and do a space show. And that's cool.
That's the Goonies and Star Wars thing, huh?
They did say it's going to kind of have more for a kid feel to it, but Jude Law was saying it's also still going to be very much for adults. But I mean, when he said that, I'm kind of like, isn't that most Star Wars stuff?
Yeah, and, pretty much.
Yeah, but I'm cool with that. They announced Mandalorian season 3 will be coming out in February of next year. So we got to wait a little bit longer to continue the adventures of Mando and Grogu. Apparently, some footage was shown at Celebration, but they have chosen not to release it to the public. I've never understood that. In the day of the internet and today's age, just fucking release it. You know, Sony last year when they put out that trailer for Into the Spider-Verse Part 2, you know, the whole reason they released it online is because it leaked out. They're like, well, people saw it anyway. Just put it out there, you know?
Yeah, just do it.
And Indiana Jones is going to return to the screen on June 30th of next year. As Harrison Ford showed up at Star Wars Celebration to announce it and release the first image for the film. Harrison said no title or trailer yet because the movie's not quite done, but they're working on finishing it. And, you know, I'm kind of pretty excited for this. I think James Mangold is going to do a heck of a good job with the indie film, taking over Steven Spielberg. The guy is, and watching Logan and just some of the films he's done, 310 to Yuma. He directed Copland. The guy's just a good director. And so I'm looking forward to his Indiana Jones movie. It's one of my all-time favorite on-screen characters. So I'm very.
Indy's going to die.
Nah, Harrison said he said Indy will not die. And in fact, Lucasfilm also announced that this will be it. They're not going to recast Indy and make more. So this will be done. Sony announced this week they've got a couple of video game projects that they're turning into television shows. The very popular Horizon series is going to be coming to Netflix as a live-action show, and God of War is going to be coming to Amazon Prime as a show. I'll say what I always say about these kind of things. Video game projects are 50-50. Yeah, most of the time they fall in that bottom half of 50.
Yeah.
I'm really hoping The Last of Us is really good when it comes out. They did kind of announce that The Last of Us will probably be out January or February of next year. That's about the time they expect it to hit. You would think eventually one of these has got to break the video game curse, and something's going to.
I think if Horizon's done right, it'll turn out pretty good.
So, yeah. So we'll see. And lastly, J.J. Abrams and Skydance Entertainment is working on a live-action Speed Racer for Amazon Prime. Or for Apple TV. So I thought that was interesting. It feels time. It's been a while since a live-action movie. Maybe it's time for some more live-action Speed Racer on the small screen. So we'll see. But that's all the news I got. It was a lot going on this episode. I think we broke our record for longest episode ever. That's for sure. But before we get out of here, we march on to episode 301. And next week we are going to cover. We did the original Jurassic Park a long time ago. It might have been the third or fourth movie we did whenever we rebooted the show. And with Jurassic World Dominion coming out on June 10th, we are going to discuss the sequel to Jurassic Park next week, and that is The Lost World Jurassic Park.
Mommy! Daddy! I found something!
A British family on a yacht cruise stumbled upon Site B.
Now it's only a matter of time before this lost world is found and pillaged.
Hopefully we've kept this island quarantined and contained, but I'm in shock about all this.
Everything's great!
That's how it always starts. But then later there's running and then screaming.
The hell was that?
Go. As fast as you can.
I need you to send rescue immediately.
Taking dinosaurs off this island is the worst idea in the history of bad ideas.
Let's get this movable feast underway. Don't move!
What is it?
Mommy's very angry.
The sequel wasn't as well received, but I kind of liked this sequel because it's kind of cheesy. It's kind of where the series started going off the rails a little bit, just being kind of ridiculously fun. But it's still a lot to like in it because it's still Steven Spielberg, doing his thing and making an entertaining movie. So it should be a fun one to watch and kick off our next 100 episodes, I guess you could say, with episode 301. I know Long. This was kind of indirectly your pick. You mentioned we should do the Lost World, so I know you're hopefully you're looking forward to talking about it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, yeah. And Frank, thank you for coming on the show.
You're welcome.
Your epic return for quite an epic episode, and
thanks to Long again for suggesting that I get to be on the show.
I hear Mark spying. You're welcome.
To be fair, it was all three of us. We were all like, "Yeah, we should bring Frank."
Well, what people don't know, the ongoing joke is that before we got started and Matt came online, he was like, "It was my idea." Yeah, screw those other two guys. If it wasn't for me, you would be sitting at home right now.
It was all me.
Yeah, they didn't want
you. Hear me?
It was just me. I wanted you on.
But the rebelradiopodcast.com. That's where you can find all the episodes of the show. They're actually not. Actually, when I started the website, it was episode 78 or so. So not all of them are there, but you hit the little link to Podbean on the right there, or iHeartRadio, or Spotify, or any of those apps for one. You can find all the episodes on one of those apps.
Yep,
they're all archived on there somewhere. So, but I almost encourage you not to go listen to those early episodes because they're pretty shitty.
Man, if they would have listened to the stuff that we did when we were doing it on.
Oh, that was even worse.
Very, very beginning with all our skits and little side stories.
That was a whole different
got
show.
Us into the whole idea of podcasting. Oh my gosh!
But again, man, thank you guys, Matt, Long, and even Frank for making the Rebel Radio podcast what it has become. 300 episodes in, and we'll keep on trucking forward. And thank you, listeners, for listening to the show and helping us make it to 300. Because if there weren't people listening to the show, we wouldn't have made it this far. And that's it, man. And so until we get out of here, this has been Mark.
This has been Matt.
This is Long.
And this is Frank.
Remember, as always, until next week, stay safe. And remember, just go there and do it.
Do it.
I like it. Yeah, that's cool.
This is Booker T, Hall of Famer, and you're listening to Rubber Radio. Now, can you dig that, sucker?
This is James O'Barr on Rebel Radio. Thanks for listening.
Hey, you're listening to Rebel Radio Podcast, and this is Jay Muse. Snooch to the nooch. Go there and do it.
Hey, this is Marky Ramone, and you're listening to the Rebel Radio Podcast.
This is Ming Chen from AMC's Comic Book Man. I love Houston. I love podcasting. But what I really love is the Rebel Radio Podcast.